the first thing that I saw was this hand that came out, and I reached for it, and I was pulled out of my body, and I was taken into this expansive dark. It was dark. It wasn't dark from the standpoint of like a lower vibration. In fact, it was a higher vibration. I know that there were three angels there, and it was like there was a light ahead of me, but it also looked like a fuzzy, you know how you have the snowy picture on a TV? That's the way it looked. It was a snowy picture, and then it turned to orange. And I just said, I remembered freaking out, kind of like, you can't let me go. This is not the way I wanted to end my life, and I started kind of negotiating, and I didn't want to go, even though I felt this peace and the love and joy that everybody did. And they calmed me down immediately because I was just like beside myself that I was going to leave my son. And they said, we're holding you here until.
I'm here today with my very good friend, Rachelle Gehman. Rachelle, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Oh my gosh, Tia, it's so great to be here. And I just love the work that you're doing and the information that you're putting out to help people. It's just really special and great and such a contribution.
Well, thank you for being my guest because that's your contribution. That's so amazing. Stories like yours that truly do help people live better lives and live without fear. So it's amazing for you to be here. Thank you again. And we had you on before we discussed your near-death experience. You had not yet unfolded the memories. And since then, you've had some work done, doing some regression work to find out more of your experience. And you've come back to share that with us. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tia. Yeah, it was really profound. And it was very profound in that in my life at the particular time, I was at this place that I was basically going down a wrong path, is what I want to say. I had married my husband. I actually found out I was pregnant, and my mother gave me two choices. Either you marry the guy. She was more concerned about her and how it would look at that particular time because of um, not having, quote, an illegitimate grandchild, right? And so she was more concerned about that. And in my heart, I didn't want to marry him, but I ended up marrying him. And it was a very toxic, dysfunctional relationship. I was actually breaking up with him when I found out I was pregnant. And my brother even said to me, oh, that's not love, that's craziness. And it was just all kinds of drama. It was something where I started losing myself and everything. And so we actually were living in Pittsburgh at the time, and we had moved to Florida. And it's we were I had separated many times, and this last time, my mother was actually a theology student, and she had actually I said, Mom, I made that commitment before God, I can't leave him, and she said, well, I'll go through the Bible and figure out, some, just basically things that might change your mind about it's okay. And so she went through the Bible and everything, and she came back with 11 pages of notes. And I just didn't feel comfortable with that. I still hadn't, and I was really struggling. I thought I was visualizing myself as a single parent, which was overwhelming to me because I wasn't that, I was like 32, 33 at the time, and it just seemed overwhelming. And we were in this house, we rented this house, and my husband wasn't home at the time. He had was doing something on a Saturday for work. And I actually was outside doing some landscaping, doing some flowers, and things like that. My mother had given me some flowers to plant. And I was outside, and the neighbor was outside as well. And my son, she had a son as well. So my son went over there, and I actually got stung by this it was a black wasp, so it looked like a tarantula. It was a tarantula wasp. And I thought, wow, did that hurt? And I told her, she was outside, and I told her I'd just gotten stung. And then all of a sudden I went inside and my feet started itching really bad. It was just like, and it was underneath the skin. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I actually called my husband. He said, you're having an allergic reaction, to get to the hospital. So I went over to my neighbor and I told her, and luckily, well, I had told her that I had just gotten stung. And then when I went back over, when I started having this allergic reaction, she happened to be a nurse, and she took one look at me, and I said, well, she didn't even allow me to finish my sentence. That's what I said. I think I'm going to drive myself to the hospital. She took one look at me and said, you're not driving yourself. I'm driving you. She grabbed the kids, threw them in the car. And I just went to this place because I had done meditation. I did spiritual work. I was also in martial arts, so I knew how to control my breathing. And so I just went to this place where I started controlling my breathing, and we got to the hospital. She kept asking me, are you okay? Yes. I walked in, and then right when I walked in, I said, I'm going to faint. And they put me on a gurney, and right then, thank God, because she explained it, she's going into, she's in anaphylactic shock. She's my neighbor. And they said, the last thing I remember was 90 over 50. They yelled out my vitals. And then then right after that, I just went into this black void. And so one of the things that has come out since then is, when I did a regression, I thought, gosh, I've had this over 30 years ago. And I was hanging out with all these NDEers, through the IONS group, which is the International Association of Near-Death Studies. And, people were sharing their stories and everything. And like, I denied this, I guess, is what I want to say. I just like buried it. I didn't think it was, quote, we didn't have a label for it back then. This was in 1994 when I had it. 1994, 1994, 95 time frame. I think it was 94. And so through going through these regressions, I had my friend Bonnie, who is a hypnotherapist, and she does Akashic reads. And we saw how everything was orchestrated. From the Hornet, everything was orchestrated because they had been trying to get my attention. And even though I grew up in a spiritualist family, so spirits were very natural to me. Guidance, angels, all of that was all very normal to me. And so when we went in, the first thing that I saw was this hand that came out, and I reached for it, and I was pulled out of my body, and I was taken into this expansive dark. It was dark. It wasn't dark from the standpoint of like a lower vibration. In fact, it was a higher vibration. And there were I know that there were three angels there. And it was like there was a light ahead of me, but it also looked like a fuzzy, how you have the snowy picture on a TV? That's the way it looked. It was a snowy picture. And then it turned to orange. And I just said, I remembered freaking out, kind of like, you can't let me go. This is not the way I wanted to end my life, and I started kind of negotiating, and I didn't want to go, even though I felt this peace and the love and joy that everybody did. And they calmed me down immediately because I was just like beside myself that I was going to leave my son. And they said, we're holding you here until the body is ready for you again. And so they just, but I didn't go to like these places where everybody sees these, like the meadows and the greenlands and the water and, the place that really truly is the other side. I've gone to that many times in meditation, but I was so off track, and I needed God's permission to end the marriage. And even though my mother did all that research in the Bible, it still wasn't good enough for me. And they basically let me know that I hadn't been listening. and they had to get my attention in some way. And that was the way that they did it. They orchestrated everything from, because I didn't even see that bee. I mean, that hornet, I didn't even see it come. It just landed. It was just like all like orchestrated. And so when I got to the other side and I was talking to them, they gave me permission to say, it's all right. You have, great work to do. And even though they comforted me with those words and so forth, and I don't know how long I was out, but I do know that it took them, the nurse, when I came to, and I remember coming back into my body. And when I was back in my body, I was quiet and I didn't want to open my eyes yet. I just didn't. Finally, when I did, the nurse said to me, it took us 3 epinephrines with saline wash to revive you. Next time, you're not going to have that kind of time. And I'm supposed to carry an epinephrine pen, an EpiPen, and I've got to get that done. But it was just such a random thing, and I've been strong after that, and nothing has happened. Nothing. It's very strange. And so when all of that happened, and I was on the other side, I knew that I wasn't living the life. I had become a shallow person because the emotional abuse that I was experiencing, and it was just, I became such a shell of a person, and that wasn't who I was. And I just, I felt so imprisoned. And I had a moment, it was a fleeting thought, because I'm very spiritual. I did have a fleeting thought that, gosh, I think I just need to leave. But then I thought, well, he would win, and then my son would have the perception of what my husband thought of me, which is not who I was anyway. And even when I was over and I was waiting and I was talking to the beings, that were there, the angels and God, I saw a flash where they showed me that I left, and that my ex did the eulogy, and everybody was sitting there looking around thinking, well, who's he talking about? He really didn't know my heart. And so it was just really interesting that kind of happened, that I got shown certain things. And I don't know if we have a choice or not. I was so adamant about coming back and raising my son and the love that I had. I couldn't go out that way. But they also calmed me down. And now that after I processing, and I know I was in front of source. I know that big, light that was snowy and everything. It was so authentic and it was so real. And the frequency of authenticity, I think, is where we really connect to God. And I felt that so strongly. And when I came back, and I couldn't even talk to anybody. I mean, I was just so like deer in the headlights for, God, 2 months. And there was depression. I got to say that there was, like most people coming back from an NDE, there was this sense of loss, but it wasn't from the love that I experienced. It was more about the life experience that I was having, and it wasn't where I was supposed to be. And there was a correction, and there was a divine intervention to correct the path that I was on. And I know that now. And to think that we are so loved to, an NDE is a very intimate and loving experience. And they're all different, I believe, based on what I've heard, based on something that you're trying to work through. And you're just having these issues where you can't get through it. And there's an intervention there that can help you become awakened, get you on the right path. And the gifts that come in as a result is just mind-blowing. But the love that they have for us to orchestrate all of this is just, and it's not just for someone that had an NDE, it's for people that don't have NDEs, that the love that they have for us is just incredible. So that's kind of more, it kind of got more built out as I did the past life regression, or I'm sorry, the regression into that particular moment in time. And we looked at it, and when I went into this place of where I was going to be regressed in hypnotherapy and going back, as soon as I was on that gurney, I started to bawl my eyes out, reliving the fact that I knew I was going to be in front of Source again. And it's so overwhelming, the love that I don't know if everybody or anybody has experienced the love that they have for us, but the vibration of that love and that authenticity is so, that vibration is, I wish I could bottle it and give it to everyone, because we would stop all the stuff that doesn't matter, because we are so loved.
Do you think that that is one of the main reasons that most people have near-death experiences, is kind of like a wake-up call? There's a change in their life that's needed?
Yeah, I think so, because one of the things that happens to you is, I feel like there's a lot of people that are in their head, and that have been told to trust their intellect. And we get so disconnected and cut off from Source. And uh whether and it could be emotions, it could be anger, it could be resentment, it could be a lot of things that cut us off, or things that are in our mind, or we've had trauma that have shaped our lives, that this is like a course correction. It can be an awakening. It's uh the ego can drop away, and you just be in the essence of who you are and the wholeness of who you are. There's that opportunity. But this is the thing. People don't need to have a near-death experience to experience that. It's something that we all have the ability to do. And, especially with like now AI coming out, and I've heard people say, well, don't trust your gut, trust AI. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's just absolutely insane to me. I mean, the answers, everything exists all around us. And that's just insanity. And that we have been taught that it's our intellect and our mind, but it's so much more than that. It's the frequency of every energy center within the body. It's the frequency of love. It's the frequency of authenticity. It's it's the vibratory complex that exists, that where we're biologic and we're vibrational, and that we've been attuned to the 3D world through our eyes and through feeling the vibration, and they've cut us off. I mean, you know, I feel that one of the reasons our auras are 6 feet wide. Isn't that interesting? It's 6 feet wide, and that they didn't want us touching each other. Why not? Because you and I have keys and codes that we can give to one another, that are ready to activate and open when we're ready. Most people don't even know that. But the people that are in charge, they know that. And when we open those keys and codes, we're sharing parts of the essence of our spirit, our experiences, and knowledge that you can gain just by being in the presence of someone who is enlightened or has love or pushing their love and light forward, people that have had NDEs, all of that. And it's not to be taken lightly. And so, yeah, I just feel that there is so much that the human experience and that has been hidden about our existence, about where we've come from, and where we're going. And where we're going the awakening is just the first step in so much more of our evolution as the human race, and understanding, our gifts and how powerful we are. Each and every one of us is so powerful. Uh, and the learning and the growing and the evolution of humanity and contributing to that, everyone has a purpose in that.
I find it interesting that you said something about the 6 feet and the codes and the keys. And a lot of people felt like that was around the same time where we saw an acceleration of spiritual awakening. Do you think there was something that happened around that time that was maybe trying to be prevented?
Absolutely. 100%. They were doing everything they possibly could for the prevention of that. And not only was this whole thing around, see, there is herd immunity. There is. And only so many people have to get sick where our immune system will activate through the keys and codes through the auric field. And so it was very much something that was designed. So, but no matter what, they can't stop it because timelines have converged. There were people that didn't adhere to it that were out there. There have been people that have been positioned all over the world because they have listened to spirit, that are being positioned globally, so awakening can occur. So, and I just feel that with my whole heart and soul. So yes, something was trying to be prevented. They even did it with 911, which is one of the most powerful numbers in the universe. And within a half a day, they had successfully ruined and created the fear consciousness around that number. That was purposeful. And so, people that are asleep, uh, there are reasons that people are having NDEs and they're sharing their experiences because this is all tied in to the metaverse, to the universe, to God's source, to the galactic, to 3D, 4D, 5D that exists all around us. And it's about the awakening and understanding the unconditional love, being deprogrammed to what we have programmed for. And this is extremely significant. And I want to encourage everybody to search their own heart, to keep asking questions. Why? How? This doesn't make sense to me. You know, um, don't take things at face value. There is such a control of perception of the humankind and what they want us to believe, because this was never meant to be a slave planet, and we've been under that for the past 6,000 years. And it's time to embrace our freedom and our sovereignty. And that's what this is all about, as far as every single NDE, every single experience. And some people have had multiple NDEs because it's taken them that long to wake up. And when you have an NDE, you are on the fringe of humanity and the other side. And a lot of people crave the other side because they know that our beings are sovereign over there. It was never meant to be what happened. And that's where we're going. We're going to a place where we are sovereign, where we are unconditionally loved, and we love one another, and we understand the connection between the trees and the air and the mountains and the water and the fire and all the elements of the earth and how we are connected to it. And that's why it's so important for That's why all these NDEs are happening. And that's why it's important that everybody start to share their NDE, because it is so profound. The information that comes through and the visibility that we see, all timelines have converged, and there's nothing that's going to stop, no matter what they do, to the great awakening that is occurring within the human race. And that's why when people have an NDE and they come back, they struggle with the human constructs that have been put in place. Money no longer has any value. Why? Because that's a human construct. The hierarchy is a human construct, and it enslaves us. It's not something that was ever meant to be. And we are so celebrated by the spirit world. Spirit has so much respect for us, our angels, our guides. And the reason is, if you think about it, we come down to this place of duality and polarity, right? And where there's, I guess, for, a better lack of a better word, is good and evil. But even good and evil, the dark always serves the light. The light is so much brighter than the dark. And so when dark happens, more light can shine through. And so there is purpose, but then you have your sovereignty, you have your free will, and you have everybody else's free will that you're trying to navigate. And you have all these lessons that you're trying to learn being on this physical planet. And that's why we have come down here to learn those lessons. And they have so much respect for us, because this is not an easy place to come. And so, of course, we need guidance. Of course, we need a whole guidance team that is going to, help us in navigating this earth. It's not easy. And I have respect and love for everyone that is on this planet, because, it's craziness. And the people who don't get it have been lied to. They've been abused. They've been, they've had their life challenges, and to heal from that, it's really, truly incredible. And, there is no death. There is no death. That is such an illusion. You're either in the body or out of the body, and that's it. And the people that have had NDEs crave going home. And the key is that because it's such a different vibration. It's such a loving, peaceful, joyous vibration. But I just also want to encourage every NDEer to stay in love and meditation, and stay in the light, and then also discover what your gifts are, so you can contribute to humanity in a positive way. And if you haven't had an NDE, I encourage you to do your own research and allow the unfoldment to occur, and continue to ask questions and see what resonates for you. And if you don't feel like talking about it, or, there are safe groups that you can share. And not only do we have near-death experiences, but there's also spiritually transformative experiences where, we can go and have this tremendous love and authenticity that comes over us, and we can feel how much we are loved, and it just drops us to our knees, in the amazing feeling that is there. And so I guess that's kind of my message, is that I want to validate everyone wherever they're at, and I don't want them to be asleep anymore. That what is forthcoming, and the human constructs, and the way things have been set, there's going to be a huge turn of events. And if they could just understand that they are part of the plan, if they so choose to be here, and it's going to be an amazing time. And we need all the people that we can have to be awakened, because individually we're powerful, but we come together collectively and we can move worlds.
For sure. And there's a lot of talk about the future and, ascension and multi-dimensional beings and consciousnesses. What do you think, or what do you feel is coming for mankind? How is our life going to change?
Well, first of all, I do believe that we will no longer, we have been kept in the dark about the galactic that exists. And that's huge, that we are part of a much bigger universe than what we have been led to believe, and that there's no question that exists. And they have done the revealing individually to people, where they've come with unconditional love and telepathy and caring for people. And, there's an agenda where they want us to, it's the world against the galactic. And I'm telling you, these people love us so much, and they've watched the human condition. And it really is kind of that Star Trek where it's, non-interference and allowing them to, but they're going to do, just like I feel like the spirit world works overtime to keep in balance harmony in humanity. I feel that the galactic has done the exact same thing. And the technology is there, and they have come through to me. I've experienced it where they came to me in the middle of the night, and with unconditional love, and utilize. And my mother was there too, who was in spirit. So they're working together. I just know that it was revealed to me. They care so much for us, and they are activating people to help them. And it's through free will, and it's not something where it's going to be the world against them. That's what the elites want us to believe. And that, we'll unite against this evil force. And it's not. They are bringing unconditional love. There have been treaties that have been signed where our earth is part of a much bigger purpose, and leaders need to get in line, and they also need to reveal to the common people. And the whole thing is about um, healing the earth, healing the vibrational frequency around the earth, um, making sure that she's going to be all right. And with that, there's also the healing of the planet, the people, the mindset, what we truly can do as a human race, because that's been hidden. And they want us to discover our sovereignty, because we are sovereign. And so the fact that they're trying to position the global against the galactic is because of the control that they want to place over the human race and the human species, because it maintains their economic power, their economic ways of doing things. And it's just, that's come to an end. That's old energy. And we all have collectively known this within our beings, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, and we brought it to the forefront of who we are. And we know that they are here to help us. And they are here to make sure that we do not destroy ourselves. And there will be an intervention. And I feel it with my whole heart. And with that, new technologies are going to come to save the earth so she can heal herself. And we be the voice of that sovereignty that they are offering all of us. It's freeing us from this slave planet. It really is. And if people think I'm a conspiracy theorist or whatever, I'm telling you that this is from a spiritual perspective, and the messages that I have received, that I just know and know that that's what's going to happen, and it's going to be beautiful. And if you're contracted to be here, to be a part of this, it's going to be a wonderful thing.
So, in other words, it's going to be very positive, and there's nothing that can stop it, and mankind is going to rise up.
Absolutely. And we don't need to fear it. The fear consciousness is something that the elitists want to create within us to stop us from moving forward. If, that's the thing. It's about the love vibration and being authentic. It's not about fear. None of this is anything to fear. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing where we're moving into a new level of consciousness. Just like the Old Testament, where it was the eye for an eye and they were doing all these wars and God was spiteful and all this other stuff, right? That wasn't God. God has been the same. The whole source has been the same throughout time. What happened was man's consciousness changed to the love vibration through Jesus coming and teaching us a new way. And it's exactly the same. It's the upliftment of man's consciousness, humanity's consciousness, to a new level of understanding that that the galactic has already been through that metamorphosis. It's a given that they have unconditional love. And they're trying to give us, the opportunity to get there on our own.
And speaking about how you just know these things, you actually were born with some gifts. You've had them from childhood, but they really blossomed after your near-death experience. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I shut him down for a while. In fact, I was really powerful as a child, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then from there, um, they did blossom, and I always looked up, and they came through, but they've been really coming through now that what happened here when I finally uh, acknowledged my NDE, that's when they really started to come in, because all of a sudden I dropped things like, am I good enough? Things like that just are lies. Of course we're good enough. We are so loved. And it's about finding that love within and that connection. And when we find that connection, our light can shine forward, and it's not about ego, it's about essence. I mean, we need a little bit of ego, right? That we're here on this earth and this planet, because it's required in the 3D world, but just a little bit. But we are an individualized expression. And it's just about when I had my NDE, or I want to say acknowledged my NDE, that's when, wow. Wow. And I talked to other NDEers, and they said, Rachelle, where were you? And it's like, well, I don't know. And it's like, you were in front of Source. And I went, oh my God, I was, I was. And how beautiful that was, and how calming and joyous and peaceful it was. But then other things started to open up about what happened during that process, and what did I come back with? And the reason I came back was I was supposed to contribute to humanity with my gifts all along. And I was on the wrong track. And if I had continued down that track, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I'm doing now. And that was the key, was the contribution and the service to humanity.
And so, what are you doing now to contribute?
Yeah, so I do readings, I do readings. I do lots of healing work and readings. I'm a psychic medium, so I provide, evidence of loved ones and spirit comes through with healing, guidance, upliftment, and reassurance. And if you have someone who's carrying like guilt or don't, it's so hard to really understand or even be in the grieving process. you know, I help them kind of process that a little bit better. And so they can go on their journey, and they understand that life continues on, and that the love continues on, and that our soul group, our soul family is always with us, you know? And that's what I try to do, and be of service to humanity. I teach classes. One of the things that's really important is to master our own energy signature so we understand it more fully, and that we start to transmute trauma and release it and let it go, so we can have more of our gifts to come in, so we have more of our wholeness of who we are can come in. So that's what I help people with. I just really am very passionate about that.
From your experiences and the gifts that you have and the experiences with your gifts of communicating with others on the other side, what conclusion have you come to, or maybe it's still continuing to unfold for you, but who are we really as individuals, or are we even individuals?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And gosh, and it's complex. And it's like one of the things that I've learned is when I blend, it's I'm me, I'm you. We're all one. And there's no separation. There is none. And how I guess I know this, and it's different for everybody. Some people experience that in their NDE. But when I go in and I have a loved one come through, and the evidence comes through so clearly, it shows me that we are all one. And because the people that come, a lot of times we have the same life experiences, and it's almost like we lived it together. So it's just really kind of like that. There's no separation. And the love that we feel for the people that we really love, um, we hold that in a very high space, and we love the essence of their spirit. And if we love ourselves, we love the essence of their spirit too. It's the same love, and we match that vibration towards others. And we attract that. So we all are one. And I believe that we've had multiple lifetimes with multiple different vibrations and different life experiences to add to the wholeness of who we are. So one of the things that I don't think that happens is that we lose ourselves when we go back to the spirit world. I believe there's a level of individualized expression, that we can express. I believe at some point that does melt away, but that is at such a higher level of consciousness. And so, but we're all made up of the same thing, the same vibration, the same love, the same, um, vibratory complex, whether we're in third, fourth, fifth dimension. And, um, we are God, we're an aspect of God. All the answers exist all around us. So I guess that's what I have learned through this. It wasn't necessarily my NDE that taught me that, but it's been more of my gifts and how they've unfolded. And that includes everything. That includes, I can put my back up against a tree and it will talk to me. It will show me things. You know, and then I didn't believe in the elementals. And all of a sudden I had an experience with an elemental, and it's like, oh my God. And, and he received healing from me, and he's been with me ever since. So if you don't think these things exist, they do. And very profoundly. And, and even crystals and rocks. I mean, if you sit there with a crystal in your hand, it will talk to you. It will give you answers. Dogs, cats, I mean, animals. And, it's just amazing. So that's the way that I feel. It's like we are all one. We are all one. And it's always been like that. And we're just discovering it.
How can people develop their own gifts so that they can experience on their own some of these miraculous and incredible things that you're witness of?
Yeah. Well, I think the first step is really, people talk about meditation, and I was like, oh God, here we go again with meditation, right? Oh, everybody says meditation. But it's something where we can sit there and talk and talk and talk, but it's about really listening. And how we get there is like, it's not a mind exercise. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when people have trauma, they tend to hang out in their aura. They're not fully in their body. So one of the first things that I think everybody needs to do is really check themselves. Are they hanging out in their aura? Or, and are they just in their headspace? Or, compress their angel wings and make sure they're fully in the body and they're grounded to the earth. That is very crucial because we do belong to the earth, and we can just ground by going outside and standing on the ground barefoot and taking a few deep breaths. And then just from there, one of the things that helps me is like if our mind is racing, if we just put our hand over our heart and think about something that we love unconditionally, whether it is a baby, a dog, a cat, a family member, or even a place that we just absolutely love, if we just put our hand over our heart and start to breathe, that's something that can really make the connection. So that's really the first place to start. And um, when I meditate, I go up and I imagine white light coming all through my body, all through the chakra systems, going up, connecting with God's source, and then dropping it down into my heart and sending love out into the room. And so it's a way of doing something versus not doing an act of anything. You're sending love out into the room, that love vibration of something that you truly love, and then wait and feel that love come back to you. And then all of a sudden you're communing with that love vibration. And that's the start. That's the start of everything. And then, removing trauma. And what I mean by that, people talk about forgiveness, right? Well, I think that's the wrong word, because it sounds like you're giving something to someone. And really, what it is you're releasing the energy that is attached to that trauma, and you're becoming empowered as a result. So, because we get stuck and we get stuck on that timeline until we release it and we allow ourselves to move forward. And sometimes it's not a one and done thing. Maybe we have to revisit it several times before the release of that energy is gone. It's like a cord that you're attached to this thing, and it's about releasing that and letting it go so you can, and then calling back the wholeness of who you are. We could leave a part of ourselves somewhere in the universe. We'll call all those things back, bring them all back. These are things you can do in meditation and allow those things to come back and feel the love. And then as you want to go deeper, there are other things that, you'll be led to go deeper and trusting the process. But there are energy centers in our body that have to come online. And when we've had trauma, they kind of go offline, or we can open it and they close off, open it, and then it closes again. And it's about really opening that up so it stays. But sometimes not only do we need the healing, but it could be a life experience that all of a sudden that opens it up and it stays open. And things get trapped in the body, things get trapped in the auric field. And the field is all around us and it spirals up, and it might be served up for us to look at. And especially now, as we are going through this ascension process and the new energy, we are being asked to release the old. And so we do have to release these things that are traumas that have occurred. Everybody calls it the dark night of the soul or the shadow work or purification, whatever it is. If it gets served up to you, the first thing to do is not to get triggered, but to be observant of it and look at it just for a moment and respond to it differently. And as you respond to that trauma that comes up differently, then you can transmute it and release it, or release it and then transmute it. It's one of those things, and that's what I recommend. So once you start to release all that, it doesn't mean all the trauma is going to go away, but you will start to notice as you do these things, different things will start to appear. I actually have a magical moments journal. So, and as I started experiencing magical moments, I started writing them down. And the more I wrote them down, the more they came in.
I love that. I'm going to start a magical moments journal. I think that's
Yeah.
an amazing idea. Thank you for that tip. And
Yeah.
the others as well. My gosh, yeah. Definitely, if you do those things and you take your words to heart, your life can change and you can start to see things on your own and you don't have to rely on others as much.
Absolutely. I would prefer that too. I mean, here, I come in as a medium and so forth, and people come to me, which is great. But if I could just teach people to do this on their own and to trust what they're getting, that's more of a reward for me.
So, if people wanted to reach out to you, if my audience had questions or they need that guidance to learn how to develop their own gifts, how can they find you?
Yeah, thanks for that, Tia. So I'm at RachelleGehman.com or theheartfeltmedium.com. I'm the Heartfelt Medium, and you just put that in, and they can email me. And there's also a contact form there, and I can arrange. And then also too, I do have courses out there on mediumship and developing your gifts and kind of the basics, which is the basics for anything that you want to develop. Um, and if you, even if you're a medium, a working medium, I offer advanced classes as well. And that's extremely transformational because that's what we do focus on is the mind heart connection, doing the healing of the trauma, really working on making sure that you're in your body, learning your own energy signature. So you're able to really utilize your body as a barometer for specific evidence for clients. So
Lovely.
yeah, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. And do you have any last message for my viewers?
Yeah, I just feel like everyone should just keep searching. That information is coming, and that no matter, we always label it weird or crazy or, oh my gosh, that's just insane. You know, what I wish we could change our vocabulary to all of this being natural because it is natural. And we have to label it something different because we've been programmed one way and really, which is just not the way that we're supposed to be. And that um, you don't need a near death experience for your gifts to come in. You can awaken by choice. And when you make the decision to awaken, things will start to unfold.
I love that. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for being my guest. I have enjoyed this immensely, and you're just a wonderful, bright, energetic, inspirational person.
Well, thank you, Tia. So are you. I'm so grateful. I just find you just so magical in the work that you're doing. And just keep it up. People will just be drawn. And I know that you're doing an amazing contribution to humanity.
Thank you so much. And you are as well. Together, we're unstoppable.
Team, I am you and you are me.
That's right.
All right.
Rochelle, best of luck to you and everything. I know you'll succeed in all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.